animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to the most glorious morning in the African bush. There's not a cloud in sight, and we're in search of Africa's big cats. This is Safari Live. Ready.
Standing by.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Cuckoo! So, if you are confused about why we went cuckoo, it is to do with yesterday's Sunset Safari. Of course, I'm Brent Smith, and I'm very fortunate, very privileged to have the second member of the Killer Bees on the vehicle with the thumb, who's all business today, wearing a tie. He's a happy thumb, not a tired thumb. He's very happy because it's so beautiful this morning. There's not a cloud in the sky, and it's going to be exquisite. And it's going to be an exquisite morning for birding. Of course, we're looking for big cats. I have a secret subplot today, and that is the subplot of the cuckoo. So, if you don't understand what's going on, yesterday we managed very briefly to get a great spotted cuckoo on camera, and it flew off before it came to us. Now, that is not a very common cuckoo, and we tried to look for cuckoos for the rest of the drive, and of course, we only heard them. Every cuckoo decided it didn't want to be on camera. So the deal is, until we put a cuckoo on camera, every now and then Brian and I will randomly go cuckoo. Now that's very exciting because there are lots of cuckoos that have arrived. This little bit of rain we've had over the last while means the caterpillars are flush all over the trees, and that is of course a cuckoo's favorite food. So we've only seen a black cuckoo and an African cuckoo on camera. We've heard a thick-billed, a classes, a Deirdrex, a Jacobin, a great spotted. Am I missing? I think I might be missing one. Oh, red-chested. And we haven't heard a European because a European is silent in Africa, but they might be around. So, of course, we're going to look for the incredible Nkahumas, but while we're doing that, we're going to keep our eyes peeled for any avian cuckoos that might be around. And I'm very excited because, I don't know, those of you who follow my Instagram and Facebook will notice I put up a picture. I put up a picture of a chitchurr. What is a chitchurr, Brian?
It is a kingfisher.
Yes, it is the woodlands kingfisher. Now, when they arrive, you hear the first one go chitchurr, and then by about 5 days later, the whole bush is going chitchurr, chitchurr, chitchurr everywhere. And they are one of our favorite birds. They're very beautiful, very noisy, and they're intra-African migrants that come down and breed in this area. And they're often, actually, they are literally everywhere when they're around. So I've put my date for the arrival or the first hearing of a woodlands kingfisher to the 31st of October. Brian, when do you think they will arrive?
3rd of November.
Brian says the 3rd of November.
Yes.
And it'll be interesting to see what Jamie and Dave say when we go across to them to say hello. When is their date? Final control, I request that you write down these dates. And I've been wrong once. Brian, you've also been wrong this year with the rain.
I was off by like a day.
That doesn't matter, you were wrong. You were wrong. Brian's was the 3rd of November. I'm the 31st of October. And of course, James and Taylor will be back on Sunday. So they'll probably be on drive Monday morning. So we'll also get their dates once they're back. And so mine was the 31st of October. And Brian's the 3rd of November. Now, guys, keep these dates. Pop them there. Store them. Add your own date. And we'll see who is right. Now, I really don't like being wrong. And I was wrong on the rain. And Brian, even if you're off by a day, you were still wrong. A day is as good as a year.
I was closer than you though.
It doesn't matter. A day is as good as a year. But anyway, let's go find out from Jamie and Dave when the date they think the beautiful Halcyon senegalensis, aka the woodlands kingfisher, will be calling and arriving in the beautiful wonderland of Juma.
And a very good morning to all of you, and welcome to the Sunrise Safari. For those of you joining us for the first time, my name is Jamie, and this morning, I'm just going to turn Brent down. He's very loquacious on the radio today. And this morning I have Dave on camera with me. Right, well, it seems as though Brent has not only gone cuckoo for cuckoos, but he has also laid down a challenge to work out when the woodlands kingfishers are returning once again to our shores. Okay, now the problem is, usually we get a little bit of inside information because they hit some of the reserves that both of us have worked on. They usually arrive there first and then arrive here the next day. That both of us would usually have an internal source of information. But of course now we have to lay down a bet before that happens. So, Brent said October the 31st. Impala crossing. No, buddy, she's not running from you just because... No. Shame. These poor impala. Oh, hold on. Anybody else? Yes, one more. I'm stalling. I'm trying to think. Oh my goodness, more impala. Shame. The males have been chasing the females, running them ragged at the moment. And it's not breeding season, and it's not even birthing season, so it's not even the false rut. So I'm not quite sure what the deal is there. I don't know if the weather's confusing them. Right, and on that note, right, so here we have to toss up a few things. When they arrived last year, and the fact that it's been very dry this year, Brent has said the 31st. I'm going to say am I going to be brave and go with a late arrival and say the 2nd of November? Oh, Brian said the 3rd of November. Now I'm saying the 2nd. I nearly said the 3rd, weirdly enough. Okay, so that's quite a striking image. I think I'm going to say the 2nd of November. Dave, what would you like to guess at? You're going to go with the 5th of November. Now, Dave, of course, before we chat about this beautiful silhouette of the hulking vulture, Dave, of course, was the one who won the rain bet. Yes, you were, Downpour Dave. He predicted that we would get over 20 mils on his birthday, which was, what was it again, 18th of September, which is incredibly early, and somehow he won that bet, which is wonderful. Right, white-backed vulture that's been here bizarrely for the last 3 or so days. Actually, every time I've gone towards Karula, I've found this vulture sitting on this tree. I don't know if it's got a nest somewhere nearby, perhaps, or perhaps it's just a popular spot, because of course the scavenging birds of prey have had tremendous good luck over the last few days, last few weeks, in that the inkuhumas have been around making kills and leaving them plenty to snack on. So they've had lots and lots of buffalo to feed themselves up. One bird for whom the drought has been a serious advantage, unlike our woodlands kingfishers and our cuckoos. For the vultures, it has been a season of plenty. There's nothing quite so striking as a vulture sitting on a dead tree. And they, of course, do that because they're big, bulky birds, not bulking, that's not a word. Big, bulky birds, which means that flying takes a great deal of energy and is often done with very little aplomb initially when they take off or land. So a dead tree makes sense because there's no leaves or sticks or anything to get in their way. Sometimes, though, it comes with the disadvantage of the possibility of the branch breaking, which I've seen many, many times. They go into land, and the branch disappears beneath them, and they have to do some mad flapping to try and stay airborne. I've seen Fish Eagle do it as well. I think we've filmed it live before. The odd misplaced step. Right, and speaking of misplaced steps, let's go and see if we can find Karula. Let's keep our fingers crossed she's still there. I'm so about whether or not she's still going to be there. Most of the impala's been finished. Oh dear, Dave, have you got something on your lens? Oh dear, is it a spider web? Here we go, Dave's just doing some housekeeping quickly. Oh, that's on my monitor. I was about to say, there's a big splodge there, but that's on my monitor. Right, so we're going to go and see Karula. If she is not there, and if her tracks lead us to the south of our boundary, our traverse area, then we're going to go and do a hyena den check. And the reason we're going to go and do a hyena den check is because yesterday on the sunset safari, which I didn't mention, because I was too scared to get my hopes up, Mike actually called in that there was a female hyena covered in dirt, like she'd been excavating, right next to the Galago shortcut den. Could just be she'd come from a carcass and maybe it was just a little bit dirty. As you know, hyenas are, well, they're not the cleanest of creatures, and they're quite happy to go and lie down in a stinking mud wallow. So that's a possibility, but I still think it's worth doing a hyena den check and finding out what we can along the way. Maybe even a cuckoo for Brent. I'm just checking carefully for tracks. For our new viewers, Karula, and throwing Dave off the back of the vehicle over a bump. Sorry, Dave. For our newer viewers, Karula is a female leopard, and if you haven't been watching over the last few days, I am so sorry, because you've missed out on some truly spectacular scenes with Karula and her two cubs playing beautifully. Yesterday morning was absolutely spectacular before we had to race back because it was raining. And let us hope we have more of those moments in store. This is one of Karula's favorite spots. We're just about to go in now, so we'll see whether or not there's anything left. This is one of Karula's spots, and one of the reasons behind that, it's got a particularly high density of impala. It's also possible that if she's not still with that kill, which might be nearly finished, there is a chance she still managed to kill again. Ah, yes, she's there. Hey. Yeah. Might not be the best view we've ever had. She's on the marula tree. Tell you what, let's go in before we try and show you this in an awkward way. It's my fault. I got so overexcited. How wonderful. Nice and cool this morning. Hopefully the cubs are out and about playing. Yesterday, Xongile actually stalked the car. She came right up to the wheel. Not stalking to come into the car, just curious. And I'm hoping she might give us a display of that behavior again, because she's done it to me twice now. We're just going around the corner. Karula's right here. Oh, so are the impala. Have they realized that she's there? She doesn't look too interested though. I'm just quickly assessing the situation in case I need to stop and switch off. But it doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like she's too bothered. I suppose an impala in the tree is worth two in the bush. Okay, let's go nice and slowly. These little cubs have a habit of popping up where you least expect them. Okay, I've got one. Oh, I've got two. Hello. Good morning, little girl. There's impala there. Yes. So this is, for our new viewers, this is Xongile. She is 8.5 months old, and she is Karula's little girl. Oh, and the alarm calls of the impala tell me that they've spotted the leopard. She's still a little bit fuzzy around her back. What's that, girl? They might be a little bit too big for you. I know you've got big ambitions, but maybe not just yet. Still got a little bit of growing to do. Our Xongile yesterday was absolutely phenomenal. The carcass was actually hanging out of the tree, which meant it was really difficult to feed upon. And what she was doing, it was difficult for both of them, both Hosana and Xongile, but she'd actually worked out that if she braced herself against a branch and reached forward with her claws, she could hook her front feet into it and then pull backwards. That amazing body strength. Oh, is it exhausting? Yes, I know. That amazing body strength that leopards are famous for. And actually, that was what allowed her to feed. It was an impressive display of strength and problem solving. She tried to pull it up and then realized that the horns were going to sort of keep thwarting her. And on her way to mom and brother. Let's just let her get a little bit ahead before we reposition, just so that we don't startle her as we come past. Although these cubs are wonderful in that they are so used to vehicles. Hello. Look at that little face. Watching his sisters approach. Another big yawn. My goodness. Such bright, curious eyes. Staring up into the tree. I love that expression. Both of them, look at them. Waiting for Mom to drop a scrap, perhaps. All right, we're going to reposition, loop around so that we've got a view of the whole family, Karula included, who's in the top of the marula. And while we do that, let's head across to Brent to find out how his morning is going.
Cuckoo! No cuckoos yet. But we are in the area where the inkahumas were yesterday. So I'm just checking for tracks. Oh dear. We can hear Jamie. Karula is in the same place. And we are working on getting our comms sorted. There's one lioness track going north there. Let's see, but there's no cub track, so I'm pretty sure they've abandoned what is left of that small buffalo they had in the drainage line or in the little dry river system. Fingers crossed. And let's go look where those tracks go. Oh, there we go. Let's just check a little bit further on the boundary. Now we haven't heard a cuckoo yet. Let's switch off. Now, last night there was some very interesting lion audio. So we heard what sounded like the one male who was with the pride here. Then I would guess it sounded like two males that were on their way up here. And then right in the distance, I mean, you could barely hear it. Jamie and I were sitting outside looking right to the stars. It was very beautiful last night. And we just heard this. Now, was it a Birmingham? Or was it new males coming from Kruger? That was really far to the east. And then all of a sudden, this male and the other two males, it sounded like they were coming here. And we just listened to them as they moved further and further east to where that call was coming from the distance. Now, I would love to understand lion. Was it a Birmingham saying, guys, help, more males coming from Kruger. Bugger, I'm by myself, help. And then the other three charged off in that direction. Oh, hello. Although the impala being a bit ridiculous this morning with their snorts, on quarantine we had them snorting at a diker. Yes, you don't look too worried. What are you snorting at? Now, there's always a chance of the old man in this area. Mvula has been seen in Buffels Hook to the north of us, but quite close to where we are sitting at the moment. I think that was a fake snort. I think it was a snort because there's no clouds. Or it was snorting at us because we haven't seen any cuckoos. Okay, let's carry on. Now I've got my coffee this morning. It's quite wonderful. Speaking of coffee, now there's lots of places in the world that are famous for coffee. If we think about them, Brazil, Colombia. It's more famous for other stuff, but we won't get into that. What other countries, when you mention the word coffee, do you think of, Brian?
Morocco.
Morocco is actually a good one, yes. And coffee in Morocco is only grown on the Atlas Mountains, where they get. Copy, thanks, Oz. There's an Konzo of one side you're heading north. Oh, quickly across to Jamie.
This is absolutely amazing. A little dake has just stumbled into the sighting. It's completely unaware that it is being seriously stalked, not by Karula, but by Hosana. Oh, this would be, that would be seriously impressive. Oh, it's turning round. Is he going to go for it? It's a big ask of an 8-month-old leopard cub. Not impossible, but it would be very, very unusual, and I don't think he'd know what to do if he did catch it. But Mom could go racing down the tree to help him. Okay, it's moving off. I thought he was going to go for it at one point. He's flat against the ground. He's still watching it. In the meantime... Oh, look, there he goes. He's going to pop out soon. He's going to pop out on the right of that marula. Look at that tail. Just like his mom while he's hunting. Something that he's going to have to learn to master, or it's going to give him away. The daker still doesn't know that he's there. But the daker has sensed movement. I know that you can't see it, but I can. And it's watching in his direction. So it knows something's moving, but it hasn't worked out whether to run yet or not. Oh, gone. Oh well, it was a good effort, Hosana. That was a brave attempt. The cubs are not yet ready to start hunting things and to start catching and killing things. Maybe something small, something like a scrub hare or a mongoose would definitely be within their capabilities. Look at Xongile looking with disdain across at her brother. They would be capable of catching small things, but a daker is almost an impossibility at this stage. I've heard rumours of 9-month-old leopard cubs, and Tiani comes to mind, stalking and catching, or at least killing impala. I'm not entirely sure that that's not quite an exaggerated story. And I missed her. Was that quite unsuccessful? But that's all essential practice for the days when they are big enough to catch something like a daker. Learning to creep up softly, softly. And as Xongile looks up at her mom, waiting for her chance to go up the tree and have some breakfast. And speaking of their... Oh, look at those sharp predator teeth. Very scary. Michael, you wanted to know, because we did see Hosana with a scrub hare kill, and you wanted to know if, because we haven't seen one since, if that is because... Just leopard. Sorry. Distraction. She's pulling such funny faces. You wanted to know if that's because Karula's been providing so well, or is it because we just haven't seen it? I think it's because we just haven't seen it, personally. I think probably both cubs have made 1 or 2 kills, their first few kills. Of course, we never really knew if it was Hosana that killed it or if it was Karula. Oh, she is gorgeous. You two, can you come do that this side of the marula tree, please? I don't really want to reposition. I think we've got the best seat in the house. We've just got to sit patiently and wait for them to make another, there we go, reappearance. So, Michael, I think it's just we haven't seen them, and we haven't been around to witness it. Oh, there's some serious growling. Oh, she's cross. But too much. Her brother's much bigger than her, and she just seriously hissed at him. It's all fun and games until someone ends up in tears, or in sort of the leopard equivalent, hissing at each other. And he is so much bigger than her. Yes, take your frustrations out on that bush. Oh, look at this marking. Scraping his feet. Isn't that incredible? That's adult behavior that he's demonstrating and he's imitating. Oh, now he's got a stick. That urine spraying and then foot scraping is imitation behavior based on what he's... Well, actually, it's probably more instinct, because he probably isn't with his mom. Ooh, somebody scored something. so glad they're still here. Just that extra bit of time spent with them. Now are you going to try and see if you can get something? It's fascinating watching all of our little babies grow up, in terms of particularly the cubs, but I suppose all youngsters, but we spend more time with cubs, whether they be lion, leopard or hyena. And what's fascinating about it is to watch them learning the adult behaviors, and how much of it is instinctive and how much of it is learned behavior. Things like phlegm and grimacing, so that's a snarling face that all animals pull when they are smelling a particularly interesting scent, lifting up their top lip and exposing their teeth. See cubs at a tiny age doing it. The anal pasting hyena cubs, learning to whoop. And then these little ones stalking and then scent marking and scraping their feet. I think that was a deliberate display of dominance of the little boy over the little girl. What's there? What's there? Did Mom drop something? It's interesting that with the three of them, does that smelly drip spot, is that nice to roll in? That's where all of the bits of the impala have dripped down onto the floor, and that obviously is a wonderful spot to have a good roll, cover oneself in the scent of breakfast. What I was going to say is it's interesting that the few times we've seen them recently, they've always been feeding separately. We haven't seen them feeding. I personally haven't seen them feeding together. It's either mum or one of the two cubs that's eating in one go. They all seem to take turns. I think it's just possibly the position the kills have been in. I've no doubt they have eaten all together while we haven't been watching. I think it's just the position that the kills are in, and the fact that they're now growing. The competition. Uh-oh. Hosana comes sprinting in. And a very warm welcome. Hold on, she's going to pounce on him. She's going to get her revenge. She's going to go again. Yo! You go, girl. I love watching them play like this. Sorry, I'm distracted by the gambling cubs. Oh, cross again. Look at that face. She looked like Karula there. And she snarled at him. I think she's going to go again. No, she's not. So a very warm welcome. Oh, hold on. We can't take our eyes off this. To Eli Green. And Eli, you wanted to know how often a leopard needs to eat. I'm sorry, Eli. I know you are new to our live safaris, and it is fantastic to have you, but these cubs are just being so thoroughly entertaining. Look, Xongile has learned to stand on her back legs. It's too gorgeous. Looking up at Mum in eager anticipation of when she decides to finish off. Right, Eli, my apologies. Welcome to these live safaris, and I do hope you become as addicted as most people seem to. You wanted to know how often a leopard needs to eat. It's roughly once every 3 to 4 days, but that's slightly different when you've got a situation like this with 2 growing cubs. And Karula's been a fantastic mom and provider. She's caught 2 adult impala and 1 dacre in the last 4 days. So she's been particularly impressive, and her cubs, as a result, are very round-bellied, happy, and healthy, and in fine spirits. Getting rid of some of that excess energy that Mom has provided. So it depends on what they've killed as well, and whether it's a male or a female. Obviously, with males, they are much, much larger, which is why already we're seeing such a size difference between these two. Male on the right, female on the left. Doesn't stop Xongile from causing nonsense. Grappling with each other. Always pulling their punches. At 8 months old, they are more than capable of hurting each other, but they don't. Oh, there might be the odd scratch or nick, or nip. That hurts a little bit, but for the most part, the claws are not used to their full extent. Oh, blonk. He just swiped her back leg out from under her. And the teeth are bared, but not really utilized. So it's just fun and sparring. Bop. Ha ha ha. Oh, she's got this figured out. Oh! Look at her hissing. You can actually hear her. Oh, we are phenomenally lucky to witness something like this. Fighting over a bit of bone that's fallen on the ground. Yesterday we actually saw Mom joining in the games, and I'm hoping at some point she might descend and come and join them. Oh my goodness, you are full of the joys of spring this morning. Hosana's all over the place. Oh, and Xongile has got that hopeful expression on her face again. She just got such a fright. It was because her brother's tail twitched. Look at this. Getting ready to pounce again. He's distracted. She's going to get him. How was that intercept on his part? Massive leap. Situations like this, you actually don't know where to look. Good morning to Christopher. Lovely to have you on the Sunrise Safari. You wanted to know what age these cubs will separate from each other and go off on their own. I'm sure you can imagine, it's a slightly gradual process. So there's often longer and longer periods of separation before both coming back together again around Mom. But because they are this gender mix, because there's one female and one male, it'll mean that their separation happens slightly earlier. And that's because, and we can already see it in Xongile's behavior, it's because the females show slightly more independence slightly earlier than the males. Males tend to be mommy's boys, if I can describe it that way. That's just their natural behavior, which makes sense because they've actually got a far more dangerous existence once they do leave their mothers. So it makes sense that they stick around for as long as possible, get as much growing done, so that when they do become independent, they'll be at a better advantage. So Xongile will probably leave at around between 18 months, maybe closer to 2. It just depends on her personality, but females do usually become independent sooner. Oh, you hear that thump? It just hit the deck so hard. And Hosana, the little male, will be independent around 2, but he'll probably still hang around Mom for even longer than that. So both of them have to establish themselves, establish territories. But Hosana's life is going to be tougher. The life of male animals out here often generally is, just in terms of competition with other males. Which is why these skills that he's learning with his sister will one day serve him very well. Like, beware the leopard back foot. It'll come out of nowhere and smack you. Ooh, Xongile, you thoroughly pinned. The tail's twitching. And beware where you leave your tail. An irresistible lure to all cubs. Whether they be lions or leopards, there's nothing quite like a flicking tail to attract their attention. And James Richard, I 100% agree with you. The cubs are now out in the open more often. They're braver, they're more confident in their abilities to leap up trees when they need to. They're completely comfortable around us in the vehicles after 6 months of solid viewing them. We've got to that point where we're as much a part of their landscape and reality as, well, maybe not quite the trees and the grass and the termite mounds, but almost. And James is absolutely right, and I'm sure you're all feeling the same way, that we're really starting to get an idea of characters here. Their characters are developing and coming through really nicely. And some of that, of course, is gender-driven, but some of that is just the uniqueness of individual big cats. I'm going to sit here for as long as possible and just be amazed at the scene in front of us. And while these two tussle, let's go and see how Brent's cuckoo search is going.
Cuckoo! The Nkuma search is quite sad. For the second time in a month. And what date are we now? 15th. Month and a half. For only the second time in a month and a half, the Nkumas have left us. They've gone to the north. They've gone to Buffelshoek. Hook. It's quite sad. Now, of course, there's always a chance that there's a Birmingham boy patrolling. But as I said, I heard them calling. I think they've either gone off to war on the Kruger boundary, or they've gone off to mate on the Kruger boundary. So a very interesting development, and of course it's one that we don't get to see too much of, or actually at all, is that the Birminghams are now in charge of a third pride of lions called the Torchwood Pride. And the majority of the time they are in the Kruger. And one of the Birminghams has been spending a lot of time with them and mating with them, but right on the Kruger National Park boundary. So on the positive note, the lions heading to north releases us for our search of the cuckoos. So that's what we're going to do. And sunbirds. It's beautiful light. I want to see the metallic sheen of a sunbird on camera today. And I think while Jamie has got those lovely leopards all wrapped up in her hand, Brian, should we bird this morning?
Yes,
Let's bird. Let's bird. Let's bird. Okay. Top right of that dead tree, there is a sunbird. Ooh, ooh. Now that's going to be a difficult one to identify, but it's not. There we go. Very distinct. White-bellied sunbird. Now we saw an incredible white-bellied sunbird on drive a few days ago. That some of the white-bellied sunbirds have yellow shoulders. And I've never seen them in the Sabi Sands before, but we got one on drive the other day while we were tracking lions. And so there we go. The first of our birds for the morning, the white-bellied sunbird. Not the best visual of a white-bellied sunbird due to how far he's sitting up against the sky. And we had a question from Bill about migratory birds. Sorry, Bill, I was very distracted by the sunbird. So I'm going to, hopefully Final Control is going to tell me again. Now that is a very good question by Bill. Absolutely, and it's actually an excellent question. Well done, Bill. Bill would like to know, do migratory birds tend to have a more melodic call than the birds that are resident? And do the birds actually change their call from in the different areas that they migrate to? Now, so you got to look at it as generally as the species that migrate here to mate. I wouldn't call it more melodic, but definitely more profound. It's louder. They're looking for females. Now the same works with the resident birds when they're looking for mating. And some of the cuckoo calls, I don't think you can call them melodic, but they're definitely, what's the word I would say, pronounced. Now, for me, one of the more interesting ones is, and I've only noticed it in this area, is the great spotted cuckoo. I know I've been harping on about cuckoos, but there we go. I actually even got it. Let me just turn that on. So we get both calls here, but this is the more common great spotted cuckoo call. And we hear that, and then so far, according to my research, that one is only really heard in the low veldt. They don't do that doo doo anywhere else. So in Zimbabwe, in Botswana, you hear this. Now we've got to wait for it to go all the way through to get to that. And the funny thing is, it's so rare on the recording. They've only got it twice. Yesterday we heard a great spotted cuckoo do it about 25 times in a row. That one. And that's how I knew it was a great spotted cuckoo when we started looking for it. But I wouldn't say it's more melodic. They're probably more frequent as well, because they are looking for mates for the mating species that have come down here to mate. Now, a perfect example, where's my hat? The sun is quite bright. Is the European cuckoo that doesn't mate here. And it comes basically down here to take advantage of the caterpillar flush that happens after the rains. So they mate during the opposite season in Europe. And while they're in Africa, they're silent, because they're not trying to draw attention to themselves. They're not trying to procreate. So it's quite interesting. So I wouldn't say they're more melodic. And also, I think we notice them more because they're not here for 6 months of the year, and then suddenly they are. So it's quite an interesting one. So very good question. Thanks for that, Bill. Hello, impalas. You must be happy the Nkuhumas have gone north and Karula is sitting pretty on a kill. Yeah, there's a nice big male impala. He's looking a bit ragged. He's quite old. I don't think he's going to last out the year. Now, if we look at the females to the right, they are starting to show signs of pregnancy quite heavily. Look at that little rotund belly. Ooh! What to date is the first baby impala. Ooh, that's a good one. I think we're going to have to think about that for a while before we start putting numbers down. Keeping FC busy. Oh, since we're birding, let's just get it out of the way. One of our more common bird species. And you could hear him making a bit of noise there, just off to the left. There he is. The fork-tailed drongo. Now, the drongo is a member of the flycatcher family, and one of the more industrious birds, often found following any form of animal out here, taking advantage of anything disturbed. They're also very aggressive birds, probably the most aggressive of the small birds, and you often find them bombing any predatory birds. He just looks busy. Looks like he's on his game. You see that head flicking around, searching for something to fight with or something to eat. Bye, little drongo. Now, the bird that is most easily confused with a fork-tailed drongo, slightly more slender built, is the African black flycatcher. The tail doesn't quite have the same fork in it. Now, of course, in other parts of South Africa, you get more than one drongo species. You also get a square-tailed drongo. So, I've never seen, I'm trying to think if I've seen one in the Sabi Sands. I might have. Let me just check their distribution quickly. But now, where I lived in Gabon, we had, yes, oops. So, we see quite a, so you see, so there we go, we are in this white patch. So what this tells me about the square-tailed drongo, and I wasn't sure whether I'd seen them. So there's Kruger along that there. So they're sticking to the mist belt regions, Now, mist belt is wonderful. I love mist belt. So coastal and mist belt, so up into the eastern highlands of Zimbabwe, and it's a lot more moist, a lot more rain, and there you get mist belt forest, and it is a great fan of lots of different bird species. So, it's gone away. And so, strangely enough, Hoedspruit, where I live, is on the edge of that. So we've got the Drakensberg Mountains. We live on the edge, and literally all you do is you need to go about a kilometer, and it changes completely. So on the low-lying levels of the Drakensberg Mountains, you have a wonderful area, as I said, called the mist belt, and the mist belt forest. And in the mist belt forest is where you find the fork-tailed drongos in this part of the world. Now, in KwaZulu-Natal, you see them all over the place because it's coastal, so you'll find them wherever there's wet savanna. So what we live in here is actually mostly dry savanna. For example, the Lowveld, or even let's just take, because it's close, Hoedspruit and the edge of the Drakensberg Mountains. So your average rainfall here is about 350 mils a year. On the edge of the Drakensberg, it's 450 to 600. So of course, lots of different trees. You get magnificent yellow woods and stink woods and all sorts of things. And so you have a much greater bird diversity around those areas. Now I know I'm harping on about trees, and hopefully we're going to find some birds in the tree, but let's go across to Jamie, who's got a mammal in a tree.
I have a different mammal in the tree, in this case Xongile, who's jumped up to take her mother's place. Her mom, before she gets there, her mom is on her way to go and fetch her errant son, and you won't believe what he just chased, and he disappeared for ages. He chased a group of banded mongoose. I have seen banded mongoose out here 3 times in my entire time on Djuma, and this last time was the shortest sighting I've ever had, because Hosana chased them away very, very fast. He went in with a serious lack of flair, like a bull in a china shop. He didn't even try and stalk them. He just went racing at them like a cat amongst the pigeons. And as a result, they have all scattered, and he disappeared for a long time, till Karula got concerned and started calling him back. I don't know how far he chased them. I didn't want to follow him, just in terms of crashing after a running cub through the bushes. It's just it wouldn't have been ideal. I didn't want to do that to him, but he's made his way back safely, and he's now reunited with Mum, and Xongile is taking advantage of her brother's lapse in attention. Found her spot in feeding off what little remains of this poor hapless impala that Karula managed to catch. I mean, this is a full-grown impala ram. She's done very, very well. All that's left really is the neck and a little bit of the head. Here come Karula's on her way back. Oh no, wait, that's not Karula. Jeepers, they're getting big. Sure. Getting so big. My mistake, it's the little boy. Hosana on his way back, the conquering hero returns. So did that not work out for you, mister? You chased away the mongoose species we hardly ever see. Well, for new viewers, the banded mongoose, as I said, I've seen 3 times here on Djuma. We never get to see them. They're very, very shy, which is actually unusual for banded mongoose in my experience, but out here they're very shy. We see the dwarf mongoose all the time, and we see white tails relatively regularly, but the banded and slender, but the banded mongoose is a rare sight indeed. Oh well, and perhaps, I don't think they're going to come back actually. I was about to say perhaps they'll come back. I doubt it. I don't think they're going to come back to face the risk of leopard cubs barreling after them. It was very apt, considering we were talking about the hunting skills of the leopards. What you watching? What have you seen? Oh, thanks, Brent. Andrew was trying to call me. Brent stepped in and taken it for me. Wonderful. What are you doing? Oh, that was just a plan of how she was going to get over the impala and around. She's looking at Mum. I wonder if what Mum's doing. I can't see. I think she's probably gone to settle down in the shade and sleep off one very full belly. And now it's Xongile's turn for breakfast. Tucking in and crunching through. Now, Lauren, good morning, and as always, welcome to the Sunrise Safari. You wanted to know when Karula leaves her cubs, how often will they actually move away from where she's left them, and as a result, ooh, careful little one, this could go either way. How often do you think they've moved away and she has to go looking for them? I don't think at this point they ever are exactly where she left them, particularly the female, but I mean, I've seen Hosana go on his own mission far away, walking all the way down a drainage line, climbing up a jackleberry tree, causing much concern to his mom when she called him and he just didn't respond at all and didn't pop out. So I think both of them are ready little explorers, but that being said, their instinct tells them not to go too far away. They will stay within calling distance so that when Mom returns to where she's left them, all she has to do is sit down and make that croaking calling sound that leopards do to call their cubs, and it does sound a little bit like a frog. But she'll call them out and they'll come through. But they do, and Xongile is going to give us a couple of heart palpitations, I think, in the future, because there's going to be a stage where she's going to start wandering further and further afield, and we might enjoy a few sightings of just Karula and Hosana, or the other way around, but most likely Xongile will be the missing one, and it's going to terrify us, but it's just all part of the natural process of her learning to be independent and wandering further and further afield. But prepare yourself for the moment where she does give us a bit of a scare, but chances are she's going to be absolutely fine. These cubs have learnt well from their mother, and she's equipped them with the best possible start in life. Her eyes are still brown, but they haven't kept that colour that they had initially. Ah, all hail the conquering hero. He returns. How did your mongoose chasing go? Have you burnt off a little bit of impala energy now? Or now you're hungry again? Sitting patiently, waiting his turn, waiting for his sister to finish. It's still a tricky spot for these cubs. This hasn't been the easiest impala kill that they've ever had to consume. I think it's that branch has stymied a lot of their efforts in terms of where Karula's put it. What now, girl? How are you going to do this? But it has been, for us, hugely entertaining to watch them learn to problem solve. Like that. Now you've tied the impala to the tree. Very clever. Now what? Well, that's not falling out anytime soon, so maybe there was more sense than I realized there. Look at that, she's actually... I don't think it was intentional, but she has actually physically wrapped the impala skin around the branch. You clever girl. Oh. Ooh, that was very limber. Deja vu, for those of you who were watching the sunset safari yesterday. Just slightly less of the impala left for the cubs to grab. Did you see where her tongue stretched out there as it swung away? Trying to maintain as much contact as possible. I'm sorry for those of you that have slightly sensitive stomachs. I know that this is probably not all that easy for you to watch. Ah, there we go. The X ear. Oh. Nearly. Sorry. Bear with me one moment. I'm just going to chat to Andrew. Morning, Andrew. How are you? Good, thanks. Karula's gone off into the shade somewhere by that knobthorn. So she's around. Yeah. Are you okay there?
Yeah, fine.
Okay, cool. Sure. That was well saved. Xongile nearly went tumbling out of the tree head first. I do often wonder how often these cubs have actually fallen out of trees. I know it happens. I've seen leopards fall before. Well, not fall out. I've seen them catch themselves on branches. But I wonder how many times leopard cubs fall out. They have that cat-like ability to actually catch themselves. One on top, one below. How long do you think before Hosana muscles in on breakfast? Or is he going to be well behaved and wait his turn? He's got such a serious face. She's lying back down again. Never mind. While we're looking at Hosana, Michael, you wanted to know at what age will Hosana be bigger than his mother? You're right. I think he is going to be a big boy. Although Karula has produced, just generally, she's produced some large males. Just bear with me one moment. I think we're going to need to reposition Michael before I answer your question. Just so that I can make some space for... Oh, never mind. Going the other way. Cool. I don't have to go anywhere. I think you're right. I think he's going to be big. And I think he's going to live up to quarantine standards of size. Quarantine's massive for a 4-year-old male. I would say he's probably going to be taller and bigger than his mom. At least taller than his mom. Probably by about 12 months old, give or take. His feet are already the same size, if not even slightly larger. So that would be my guess. 12 months old. Maybe even younger. He's growing very, very quickly. But we'll see. He's not going to reach her weight as fast as he will her height. Because they go through that, like all animals go through that gangly stage. And you'll have to fill out. So while Hosana debates whether or not it's worth trying to climb up and feed with his sister, let's head across to Brent for an update.
So I got so distracted by the cuckoos.
Oh, sorry.
That's not a cuckoo, Brian. I forgot to chat about the coffee. And probably most places that you think to when you mention the word coffee, and I'm going to have my last sip. Yum. Is Brazil, Portugal, Italy. Now the interesting thing is that there were thought to be 2 species of coffee. Arabica and Robusta. It turns out Arabica is actually a version of Robusta that's been separated for a little bit. So all coffee has its origin in Africa, and more specifically in the highlands of Ethiopia. So all coffee, Brazilian coffee, Italian coffee, Portuguese coffee, all originally comes from Africa. And it spread. I'm trying to think. I can't remember dates at the moment, but from the Arab traders. Now, they've been trading with Africa for thousands of years, literally thousands of years. And one of the more interesting facts about that is that Goa in India is one of the more famous ports, and especially during that time because the Arabs and the Chinese were sailing around the world in vast distances far before the Europeans ever did. Now, interesting enough, the Chinese discovered America, not Christopher Columbus. And if you want to be, the Vikings even got to America before Christopher Columbus. Oh, excuse me, my coffee's coming back. Where was I? Oh, Goa, India. Now, for me, it's fascinating. You can go to Goa and you can speak Swahili. And in the markets, the trading markets there, Swahili is one of the languages conversed. And to this day, dhows from the east coast of Africa across the Indian Ocean to Goa, with spices is probably their main export, and from Zanzibar, Mafia, Pemba, the islands off the east coast of Africa. So I think it's absolutely incredible. Now, I've spent quite a lot of time in East Africa and along the coastal belt of East Africa. So the major ports of today are, of course, Dar es Salaam and Mombasa and Puntland, although you don't want to go to Puntland. Brian, why do you not want to go to Puntland?
I don't know.
Because you will be taken hostage by the Somali pirates and ransomed, and none of us want to be ransomed. I don't think it's ideal being ransomed. And so, but historically, the two main ports, so Dar es Salaam is quite an interesting one because it's actually a fabricated port, a fabricated city, and I'll get into that a little bit later. So it was Kilwa, and Kilwa is on the south coast of Tanzania, and there's some famous ruins in Kenya that are far more well known, even though Kilwa is actually a much bigger set of ruins. So if any of you have heard of the city of Gede, G-E-D-E-S, Gede, and that is around a wonderful part of the world called Watamu in Kenya. And there's this incredible old city, and I mean seriously sophisticated for the time. It's, if I remember correctly, it started around 2,000 years ago, and was very prominent up until about 400 years ago. And Kilwa is even bigger. It's a much bigger complex. So those were the, and Mombasa. Mombasa was always a main port, and of course Zanzibar as well. So the Omani Arabs from Oman, they had Zanzibar was their city. So it was a sultanate. So it was actually part of them. Now I'm getting sidetracked again. So we're saying about those main cities, and oh, sorry, apparently Aubrey is trying to get hold of me. I turned my radio off. Aubrey? Orbs, were you looking for me?
How far from the gentleman is it? Being close to the exit or taken from Sandy Patch North?
I turned Sandy Patch North.
Okay, going down the check from close to the gate.
Copy, thanks. So Orbs is just checking where I've checked so he doesn't double check the roads that I've already done. And where were we now? Kilwa, Gede, Mombasa, Goa. Now I've got to get my train of thought back. What was I talking about, Brian?
Somalian pirates.
No, but that was earlier. Okay, let's think. Yes, Zanzibar, Sultanate, the major ports. So, strangely enough, a lot of the spices that Zanzibar and the East African islands are incredibly famous for are, of course, not indigenous. So, cinnamon and nutmeg and all that were actually imported from the proper spice islands, Jakarta and Indonesia and that. And in that Goan market, they actually moved through and were planted on Zanzibar and stuff, and it turned out that the climate there was very good or pretty much perfect to grow those. So there's been an incredible trade in Africa long before the Europeans arrived, and I think if I remember correctly, that and the Chinese obviously they were heavily involved in this trade. Now I don't know if a lot of you know this, but as I said, the Chinese got to North America long before the Europeans did, and 1430 around there. And one of the most interesting things is that maize or corn was actually mostly spread around the world by the Chinese, brought to Africa by the Chinese, brought to North America by the Chinese. So very, very interesting. Now I'm still rambling because now I've completely lost my original train of thought. But on that note, we still can't find any cuckoos. Ah, yes, coffee is where it all started. Okay, so coffee was exported from Geddes, Kilwa, Zanzibar by the Arab dhow traders, probably as early as they reckon, probably early as 2,000 years ago. And there we go. So the two, Arabica and Robusta, all come from Robusta. And well, Final Control says my coffee's made me a chatty Cathy. I think I'm always a chatty Cathy. Anyway, stop distracting me, Final Control. I'm trying to finish the coffee story. Okay, so as I said, it's been spread throughout the world, and the Chinese actually got it from the Arab traders, and that whole coffee culture in the world started in Africa, and probably the most ritualistic of the coffee cultures is from North Africa into the Middle East, and that has been going on for many, many thousands of years. Now, of course, the reason being is coffee is a stimulant that makes me a chatty Cathy, apparently. But yeah, so it's fascinating. And can you believe that those Arab traders even came down probably as far as where we are now? And the only reason I can say that is, of course, when you're traveling, you need snacks. Who travels without snacks? These days we have sweeties and crisps and things like that. But the Arab traders in those days weren't so lucky to have sweeties. So their sweeties were fruit normally, preserved figs and preserved tamarind. Now, tamarind is the most fascinating tree. It is indigenous to India, and it is now indigenous to Africa, especially the east coast of Africa. Probably, as I said, for about the last 2,000 years. So, while the Arab traders were walking, they would suck on the tamarind seeds, which are very nice, and spit them out as they went. And on all the major trade routes, the closest major trade route to us is probably about 100 kilometers to the north along the Limpopo River. There are tamarind trees. So they have grown and propagated. East Africa is full of them. Obviously, there's been a permanent presence in East Africa for quite a long time. Now, the reason I say that the Arab traders actually got this far south is on the Sand River, and of course most of the trade routes follow rivers because of water. So on the Sand River, probably about, not that far from us, less than 10, 15 kilometers, maybe 10 to 15 kilometers away, there is one fig tree. So tamarind and dried figs were two of the favorite traveling snacks of the Arab businessman, the Arab trader who was working in Africa. So on the edge of the Sand River, there's a fig tree that confuses many a safari guide. Now, it is a Zanzibar fig. So obviously that has been brought by an Arab trader, and he was eating his figs as he went along, and he threw them out or spat out the seeds, or he had a bad one that didn't taste so good and he chucked it out. And there's a Zanzibar fig growing on the banks of the Sand River. Now, the closest Zanzibar fig naturally occurring in big numbers is in Tanzania. So amazing. And I'm going to do this very quickly. So there's a mountain range that comes into the northern Kruger called the Soutpansberg, and that's on the edge of the Limpopo, so another big trading route. So there are quite a few Zanzibar figs and tamarinds on that route, and of course there was gold and all sorts of stuff there, and that's why they went there. But let me not keep you away from the leopards with Jamie.
You know, Brent and myself had exactly the same cup of coffee this morning, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but it sounds as though he is full of beans this morning and very, very talkative, from what I understand, talking lots about coffee. Well, at least our leopard cubs have been imitating Brent. Perhaps they've had some of his magic coffee as well, and are still, well, Hosana is now feeding off the impala carcass. Funnily enough, he's even reinforced the knot that his sister made with the skin. It is now thoroughly wrapped around that branch. I don't think that impala is going anywhere, which is good, but also somewhat tricky, because it means that it's almost impossible for him to get to the meaty part of what is left, and all that's left really is the muscles of the neck. But at least he's managed to have a little bit of a chance to snack on some breakfast. That seems to be the chosen position. He hasn't mastered the use of the outward limb in the same way his sister has. And he's still pretty balanced. He's found himself a good spot. And just by the way, I think most of you will have noticed this, but for those of you that haven't, Hosana has a nick out of his left ear. Oh, of course you would turn your head that way, wouldn't you, mister? Look at him using his tail for balance. I'll show you when he moves his head again. Look at the way that he's positioned himself. Massive feet. I think you're right. I think he's going to be a big boy. Doesn't want you to look at his feet, Dave. Okay. What I was going to say about the nick in his left ear, which he's now turned away from us, is that it is going to be there for the rest of his life. So we'll always be able to identify him. Well, we will always be able to identify him relatively easily, but that nick is going to be there for the rest of his life, and an easy identifying feature if perhaps we just happen to see the back of his head one day when he's much, much older and dispersing. It's such a bittersweet moment, I suppose, when leopard cubs move out of their mother's territory, especially for us, because we've got the traverse area that we do. It's restricted. I mean, there's certain places that we can't go. And there's the knowledge that he could one day move away from us completely in the same way Kunuma has done. But we've got a long time to go before we get to that stage, and he's still got lots and lots of growing to do. There you can see the nick every time. There we go. Just a little nick out of the top. And that could have been from anything. Could even have been from his sister. I said that they pull their punches when they fight, but that doesn't mean that they don't occasionally, accidentally on purpose, injure each other when things get a little bit too heated. Yum. Not my choice of breakfast, but Hosana is definitely enjoying it. Okay, I want to just move so that I can give Andrew our position. What we'll do is we'll go and spend a little bit of time with the Queen as well, I think, and her daughter. They've moved off into the shade. So I'm going to move so that Andrew can come and sit here. Our Stendrick, who is a new viewer, welcome to our live safaris. I hope you've been enjoying this. I'm sorry if the sight of the dead impala maybe made you feel a little queasy, but you wanted to know why the eyes are gouged out of the impala's skull. That's one of the first things to go when animals start to feed, whether it be mammalian predators like leopards or lions, or whether it is birds of prey. The eyes are the easiest. They're soft and they're easy to get out. And they do have nutrition within them. And of course there's all kinds of blood vessels around the eye, the retina and so on. So for all of the animals out here, they are one of the first things to go. That, and when they do open up the carcass, the stomach contents. Right, where did they go? Somewhere around here. I saw Andrew looking at them. Dave? Am I being blind? Or are they behind a bush? Aha! Sure, my eye just picked up something. It's amazing how quickly and easily they disappear from view. Just want to make sure I'm not driving too... Aha, I see you. No wonder I couldn't see her before. It's just spots. Spots through the trees. Okay, let's reposition for a slightly better view. The cubs have monopolized our attention this morning. It would be nice to spend a little bit of time with their mom and the Queen. What's going on? It was a very strange sound. She rushes back in. What was that about? Did he drop the carcass? He can't have. How would he have done that? No way, I think he did. I think he did drop the carcass. No wonder Karula got up so fast. Let's just reposition quickly. As I said, let's move on. Of course. Yep, he's dropped it. I don't know how he untangled it. I don't know how he managed that. But he dropped it. Just checking, I don't know where Xongile is. I just need to be careful. You can't really rush around a leopard sighting if you haven't accounted for all of them. Luckily, Bob's always on hand to sort out Mister's messes. How did he even untie that? Now I understand what the strange sound was. It was the cries of dismay from the guests in the other vehicle. Oh, she's going up, she's going up, she's going up, she's going up. Oh, she's going back, she's going back, she's going back. She's confiscated it. Sorry, I'm going to have to turn around again. That was not what I predicted she was going to do. Right, well, if you can't look after your things, I'm confiscating them. I'm taking them away from you. In the meantime... Oh, poor Mom. She's going to go up this tree now. Perhaps it's a better option. Yep, I think she's going to hoist it into that tree. Sorry, Dave, but I don't want to reposition now in case we missed it. Or miss it. I know, girl. Ah, kids, huh? She's just gathering her strength for a moment. She's got such a full belly that a lot of stuff is a lot of effort right now. Which way are you going to take it, my girl? That expression of exasperation. I think she's just trying to find a good way of holding it to take it up the tree. Or maybe she's trying to decide whether or not it's actually worth the effort. Only for the little ones to knock it down. Hardly anything left. I do think she's going to hoist it, though. She's just gathering her momentum. Where did the little... Oh, here comes the responsible party. Okay. I think she's decided, nope. Our Mom's just made life easier for you, hasn't she? She's just decided, never mind, I'll leave it on the ground so he can feed on it. Okay, so while Hosana tucks into the much easier to feed off carcass, let's go across to another creature that also has spots but isn't nearly so short.
Well, the killer bees are in a killer mood, and we're killing to crack a record or two. So there we go, a beautiful female giraffe looking at us through her long lashes. Oh no, it's gone, Brian. Is it still there? There. It was there. Okay, that's fine. We'll come back. But I think, what is the record, Brian? I think it's 6 or 7. Can you see it move? There we go. See the branch? No, that's wind. Oh no, there we go. You see that movement there? That's a giraffe. You're just going to have to take our word for it. Okay. 1, 2 giraffes. Now let us... So I think the record is 6 or 7. I can't remember. Can you remember, Brian? 7. Let us know. apparently it is 7, but if you've seen more than 7 giraffe, let me know. Hashtag Safari Live or questions at wildearth.tv. So we've got 2, 3, 4. There we go. There's 2, 3, 4. Let's go forward. 5. And we're going to keep going forward. We're on 5 giraffe. Can we break the magical 7? Do you think we can do it, Brian?
I think we can.
Oh, you think we can? I have a suspicion we might, because I can see more than the camera can see. And on the road in front of us is number 6. Is it? 1, or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Walking through the bush there is, oh no, it's another one of those. We can see it there through the bush. Number 7. And now let's move a little bit further forward. The record is broken. Number 8. Now the question is, how much can we break the record by? Number 8. Let's keep going. I think we're going to smash the record. Number 8. Number 9. Number 10. 9 and 10. And if you look carefully, 11. Could we do more than 11? Is it possible? Number 12. And I know there's 13 and 14 somewhere as well, but we can't see them at the moment. But this is definitely, by far, the biggest ever journey of giraffe we have ever seen on Safari Live. Isn't this just thrilling? I know there's some serious giraffe fans out there, and isn't this incredible? I've definitely not seen this many giraffe. Now, like the reason we've been seeing so many buffalo is that 30 millimeters of rain we had a while ago, where the rest of the Sabi sands had 2. So everything is moving here. The buffalo, the giraffe. It's very exciting. There we go. Quite a few young males, but also quite a few females. Oh no! Brian! Is that number 13? It is too. So there's actually 14 and 15 up the road. So there's 15 giraffe in this journey. And it looks like they all got tummy problems because they're all eating timburti. Oh, yellow-billed oxpecker. Oh, this is, look at that. The rarest of the 2 oxpecker species, the yellow-billed oxpecker, who looks like a lady who's put too much lipstick on before going out on a night on the town. Obviously, the oxpecker is on a morning on a giraffe, not quite the night on the town. And it is the biggest of the 2 oxpecker species. Oh. Look at that. Isn't that just beautiful? The camel lazy horse. Oh, there's the yellow-billed oxpecker again. No, not the camel lazy horse. It's the camel horse. Sorry about that. Kameelpaard is the Afrikaans name for a giraffe, a camel horse. Oh, look at that. Really does look like it's put. Oh, it's got a bit of hair. Now it's flown off. Now what it's done is, oxpeckers do this quite often. I'm just trying to see where they fly. This could be very fascinating. So it's taken some tufts of hair from the giraffe. Oh, look at the scratches on that one. That one survived a lion attack. That's on the side, so there's a lion on top of that giraffe trying to hold on for dear life. Quite a long time ago. Oh, sorry, I got sidetracked. So that oxpecker has taken some tufts of hair from the giraffe. I'm sorry. Did I offend you? Why are you running all of a sudden? That was quite strange. From 15 giraffe to none. Literally, there were 15 giraffe. Now there's not one. But, oh no, there's one. Two. So as I was saying, so that oxpeckers taken tufts of hair to line their nest. And they do that from quite a few species they feed off. And not only does the giraffe provide a meal of ticks, it also provides a lovely nest lining for those oxpeckers. So it looks like those yellowbird oxpeckers are actually nesting quite close by. And they flew into the block just to the west of us. Now, isn't that wonderful? 15 giraffe! I don't know if we're going to be able to beat that record. That's quite a record, Brian. And of course, the one thing that is eluding us this morning, they haven't even called once, is the cuckoos. There we go. And the giraffe are moving off. Oh. There's some young males play fighting. Let me go back. No, don't stop on our cord, gentlemen. It is the rare two-headed giraffe of the Sabi Sands. There we go. Boom. Little nudge on the bottom. Now, of course, these guys are too young to really be fighting seriously over females. Oh, he's got an itchy tummy. I'm sorry about the light. It's just unfortunate where they say, look, he's got his leg up. Scratch, scratch. There you go. Thank you, Brian. So they were play fighting. They've now stopped. Oh, they are such unique looking animals. Oh. It looked like the male at the back was about to mount the male in front. Now, things that are often considered quite taboo in human culture are quite common in animals, such as incest, and quite often quite a few animals display what one would call sort of homosexual tendencies. Now, in a lot of cases with animals, it's actually a dominance display. So there's no actual attraction, and they do tend to get excited when doing it, but what it is, it's a dominance display, proving which male is more dominant. And it's quite common in giraffe, elephants, male lions. Even buffalo. Oh, hello. These two young males are just playing. Oh, I hope you guys are getting a screenshot of that. That is absolutely gorgeous, Brian. I'm picking up my camera quickly, so if you hear clickety-click, or many clickety-clicks, it's just such an interesting pose. Okay, oh, there comes the classic two-headed giraffe. Exquisite. This is definitely the best giraffe sighting I've had in a long time. Oh, here comes another male. Are we going to get the rare three-headed giraffe? There we go, there's some of that necking display. But very, very gentle compared to what it can be. Debbie is wondering, is this a family group of giraffe? Are they all related? If not, why would they gather like this? There's a possibility that the young males are more than likely not related. They're from different females, but the females in the group also possibly related, but more than likely not. Giraffes gather in big groups for a couple of reasons. One is protection, the more eyes to spot oncoming predators such as lions. But in this case, I think the reason we're getting all the giraffe, 15 of them in total, around here is because of resources. So with a little bit of rain, the more rain we've had here than in other places in the Sabi Sands, the giraffe have been attracted to this area because there's an abundance of food. And we're getting this big group because they're all utilizing the same. Oh, there we go. There's the mounting male, the dominance display. It's going to happen again. Oh no, he's moving his bottom. He doesn't want to get mounted. Oh, there you'll get a neck. Here we go. That's what we were waiting for. So this is very soft giraffe fighting. Now, when big dominant males are actually fighting over females, the smack of that head hitting the other giraffe can be heard for up to 2 kilometers away. Let's just listen to see if we can hear the thud of these two. Hear that, Brian? It's like a deep doom. Missed. Good sidestep. And when you watch them fight, you can understand why there's that build-up of scar tissue on their foreheads, that massive bump. As you can see, sometimes the horns don't quite connect and they hit them with their face or hit each other. But these guys are quite young and this is not very serious. It's practice. It's very graceful, the giraffe fight. It's almost like a form of ballet. Notice no oxpeckers on them while they're dancing. The one on the right's not so interested, but very similar aged. Probably about 5 or 6 years old. Little nudge. Let's see. I think the one on the right is either going to get irritated and swing back or move away. Oh, he tripped over a branch. Silly one. Oh, look at that. So graceful. Okay, the one on the right says, I have enough of this. No, he's coming back. Maybe he's going to come back for a swing. He seems more interested in watching us. And you can see he's bigger and a little bit bigger than the one that was initiating. There we go, he's over it. He's walking away. So from one of the tallest, or actually not one of the tallest animal in the African bush to one of the shortest.
Definitely one of the shortest, and in fact the the smallest of the carnivores in the Sabi Sand, mammalian of the mammalian variety, I thought I'd go and see if I could find that group of banded mongoose that Hosana did such a good job of chasing away. I didn't manage, but I did find this lovely business of dwarf mongoose, who are going about their morning ritual, which involves a lot of sunbathing, stretching out as much as possible to soak in the sun's warmth, and of course a bit of ritual grooming, both themselves and other members of the business. And they're definitely one of my favorite animals to sit and watch. And if you sit really quietly, excuse me, I don't know where my voice went there. If you sit really quietly for a long period of time, but it does take a very, very long period of time, you can often get them to come right up to the vehicles of your wheel. No? Almost. Wheels of your vehicle. There must have been something in that coffee this morning. Wheels of your vehicle. And they'll come up and have a jolly good sniff. They're naturally curious animals. Look at them grooming each other. Oh, that tick pulling looked a bit sore. And one yawning and giving us a perfect view of those very, very sharp teeth. We were discussing, all of us together as a group, we met up with some friends, Brent and myself, and we were discussing the joys of mongoose that are tame and habituated, and their ability to attach themselves to various human body parts by their teeth, sort of swapping horror stories. But for those of you that think these mongoose are cute and would make good pets, they are very cute. They definitely don't make good pets. And we often talk about why it's not a good thing to have a wild animal as a pet, for a status symbol or for whatever reason it happens to be. Mongoose in particular. Bear in mind that the thing that makes a mongoose, or one of the things, is their incredible ability to anal paste things. So just think of what it does to your furniture. And they get very, very possessive. These dwarf mongoose have strict social hierarchies with alpha males and females. They're often very competitive with members of the same sex or opposite sex of human beings. And so, for example, if you raise a male mongoose, and you're a female, you'll be fine, but he might actually then turn around and be very disgruntled with any male presence that happens to enter its territory. And they're, as I said, very, very sharp teeth. Now, I'm relatively certain this is the same business of dwarf mongoose that we saw many months ago. Viam and myself were just trundling along, just listening, happened to hear dwarf mongoose alarm calls, and we witnessed them moving their... got distracted by movement. I think there's definitely something in the coffee. I think there's a daker. Just went sprinting past. I'll keep an eye out. I'm still looking for those banded mongoose. Sorry. Back to the dwarf mongoose. Let's go back there and pay more attention. Bye-bye, everybody. What was that all about? But yes, we saw them moving their babies away from a massive snake. We never really truly determined what the snake was. I think it was a spitting cobra, but I'm not 100% sure about that. Either way, it was a clear threat to the dwarf mongoose, and they decided to move their babies to a different den site. And all of the sort of business, every member of the business of mongoose were grabbing babies by the scruff of their neck and carrying them off to this new den. It was an amazing, amazing sighting. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of those babies are the ones that we're looking at now. Fully grown, reached adulthood now, in just a few months, since it doesn't take a dwarf mongoose long to grow up. And by 8 months old, the females start coming into estrus, and they're basically fully sexually mature before a year old. Now, they would be fully grown by now. Now, this could well be the exact... It was right next to Treehouse Dam, so this could well be that particular group. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, possibly 11 or 12. They're all darting about a little bit, so it's impossible to determine exact numbers. But they are one of my favorite creatures to just sit and watch. I'm just making generic dwarf mongoose contact calls. Not particularly good ones, mind you. I don't think that would win any awards in the animal mimicking category. that prize, I think, goes to Brian, hands down. I mean, they do all turn round and look when you do that. I've managed to call a slender mongoose out that way. The dwarf mongoose all just turn their heads and look at you. Morning. Right. I did promise that we'd do a hyena den tour, and since I have left the leopards to make space for other vehicles, I think that is what we shall do with the rest of our morning. Oh, hi, Prune Panther. You are back once again, and my apologies for yesterday's inability to hear your username. I wasn't quite sure what we were dealing with yesterday, but a good question. You wanted to know if the mongoose are part of the weasel family. They are related distantly, but they're not, as far as I know, it's not the same family. The mongoose belong to the Herpestidae family, whilst the weasels are part of the mustelid family. So they're all closely related. The mustelids, the viverids, and the Herpestidae family, they're all closely related to each other. Mustelids are things like honey badgers, and that will also include a weasel, part of the weasel family. Whereas the mongoose, whilst they look very, very similar, are slightly differentiated by I think it's their dentition, as well as the structure of the anal gland. So whilst both mustelids and Herpestidae members both have anal glands, the structure is slightly different. So they've been sort of loosely grouped into different families rather than the same ones. But that is actually a relatively recent grouping. Prior to that, they used to be lumped in with the viverids, which is the genets. So whilst they are distantly connected in terms of evolution, they are part of different families. Alright, I'm going to carry on and make my way towards the hyena dens. I do have to wonder how Brent's cuckoo search is going. So far he's managed to find many things, but not a cuckoo. It's an unnecessary amount of noise, Jigger.
Yeah, I'm pushing the car that was, so I'll check now.
Are we off here?
Okay, I'm still for a key for them. Thanks.
Please repeat. Rebecca? So does that mean we're still live? Yes? Sorry about that, everybody. We appear to have perhaps my link was a little bit too obscure there. Shall we try it again, Rebecca? Shall we try that one more time? To be fair, I guess it was a bit of an obscure link. There was some mass confusion as to whether or not I had linked. My apologies. I'll try it again. I'll try it word for word. I think I said as I move off and go and check the hyena dens or something along those lines. Let's go and see how Brent's cuckoo search is going, because he's found lots of things, but so far no cuckoo.
Cuckoo! No cuckoos. Not yet. They literally are being completely silent this morning. Very frustrating. Remember, if you want to ask us about cuckoos or any other animal out here, hashtag Safari Live or questions at wildearth.tv. And of course, you are with the killer bees, Brent and Brian. And we're in search of cuckoos, or actually birds in general. We're having a birding morning, although we did just have that most wonderful sighting of, we actually think there were more than 15, but we could only count 15 giraffe. Now, no one has checked our eastern edge of Traverse area. And I was telling Brian, because obviously he's just got back from leave, that I haven't been here in ages. We've been so lucky with Karula and the Inkahumas that we haven't actually come to the east for many days. So quite a nice change of scenery down here on the eastern edge of our traverse area. Now there's some big tall marulas, and big tall marulas often have lots of caterpillars. So lots of caterpillars equals
Lots of birds.
in specific.
Cuckoo.
There we go. So that is not cuckoo flying away, that is a dove. We are not interested in doves, but we haven't put a dove on camera, have we? Not today. So there we go. One for the morning bird list. Hello, Cape turtle. And it gives us a chance to listen for cuckoos. And I know that we have already had a request for the black-headed oriole today. I've heard them calling. From Alice in Ohio, we've heard them calling. We haven't managed to get close to one yet. Now, I've noticed something, and I'm going to look out for those as well. So, a long time ago, we found all the caterpillars of the African vagrant. I know Steph found one the other morning on bushwalk. Now, the really cool thing about these is they have multiple defenses that I learnt about on Safari Live. And that's the incredible thing about being live. We learn with you every day. And I really like butterflies. So therefore, I really like caterpillars for multiple reasons, because cuckoos eat them. And because they're just really cool and they turn into wonderful butterflies. So I don't know, is this a bit close to see these little bushes here? So what I noticed that the leaves on these bushes are completely gone. This is a senna. It's actually an exotic senna, but the African vagrants really like them. And Brian, you were with me when we found them originally, and literally these sennas were completely obliterated of leaves, and we found hundreds of caterpillars. Now I don't want it to. I'm going to try to take it with the leaf. I will put it back, because I learnt it's got lots of defensive mechanisms. No. Okay, I'm going to put that there. We'll come back to it now. I'm going to walk away from the vehicle for a very specific reason. I heard a bird that likes people away from cars. Come on. Call again. Jip, jip. I'm over here. I'm over here. It's not a bird we see very often. It's the greater honey guide, and it's calling me to go look for a beehive. But it wants me to go that way, which I can't do because that's torchwood. Come fetch me, honey guide. Come fetch me. I'm walking the wrong way. The honey guide wants me to go that way. I can't go that way. I'm trying to get the honey guide to come to us. I'm going the wrong way, honey guide. Going the wrong way. It's not playing the game. Maybe if we stand here for a while and talk about the caterpillar, the honey guide will come closer because it'll get annoyed that I'm not following it. Okay. Look at that. Now, these are so cool. So that is the larval stage of the African... Wait, let me turn it, hey, Brian. Like that. And we've got his head as well. So that is the larval stage of the African migrant or vagrant. Now, the first time we found them was actually on this road as well. Oh, my shadow. Let me just... Oh, he's not even fussed. He's still eating. So, as I said, we found out. So normally caterpillars like this have the normal sort of chemical defense that a lot of insects have. So when you touch them, they excrete on you. Now, this guy... no, has some very cool other features that I didn't know about till the first time we saw them on Safari Live. So the reason I plucked him with the branch in tow is because we found out as soon as you touch them, they immediately just let go of everything and drop to the floor and try to pretend to be dead. And the other very cool thing that you can see when you look at him, you can see those little black sort of studs or spikes on his body. and he's as rough as sandpaper. So of course, if you're a bird, it doesn't feel too good on your tongue. So that's another one of the defensive things about the African vagrant larval stage. Now, of course, they're not noxious, and they probably are quite good to eat, but that little sort of roughness on his body, oh, go away, keep quiet, radio, is one of the amazing things that helps him defend himself. Now, also, as soon as we touch them, they just drop to the ground, and obviously, out of sight, out of mind, birds do not have the largest brains, although they seem to be cuckooing us. I was going to say something else, and I changed my mind there quickly, and we just went with the cuckoo. They're cuckooing us today, and this is definitely one of the species that cuckoos will feed off, and orioles are also great lovers of the caterpillar. So this is a little African vagrant. I'm not going to disturb him because I have touched them before, and I felt that roughness, and we can actually see the roughness with the zoom on the camera, but very, very nice. Now, wouldn't it be wonderful if we can find an adult today as well? So the butterfly version, let me put him back on the sennas. Now, there's actually quite a few of them on these plants, and as you can see, they literally have completely eaten the leaves. The honey guide is getting more upset with me because I'm not coming. There we go, I put him down. Maybe if we reverse, we might be able to see where he's calling from. So that is the greater honey guide, and it's the only honey guide I've actually heard on Djuma. Now down towards the south on the Sand River, as I mentioned earlier, I've seen probably one of the coolest honey guides, and it's also got one of the coolest calls. I'll play it for you shortly, and that is the scaly-throated honey guide. The honey guide is shouting at me. Brian, you were with me the only time we've seen a honey guide as well, on Rebecca's Road. See, the killer bees are all over the place. We just dominate. The birds, the elephants, the butterfly larvae, the lions, the leopards. So that greater honey guide is calling from in here somewhere. Now, obviously, since I've got into the car, it now doesn't recognize me anymore. There's also a cardinal woodpecker calling. Oh dear. So it's amazing that honey guide only called when I was out the vehicle. So as I was saying, I was going to play you the call of my favorite of the honey guide species we get in southern Africa, which is the scaly-throated honey guide and honey guiding. But I'm going to keep driving because I can hear an oriole, and we have been asked for one, so let's go find it. And it sounds like it was calling quite close to the road, and also gives me a chance to go through my digital bird book. I'm so fancy, I have a digital bird book, not a paper one. What do we want? H for honey guide. And okay, let's just get to that oriole. I'd say it's calling. Oh, I think I actually saw one flying into this marula tree. That beautiful liquid chortle of the black-headed oriole. We might just, so, about there, Brian. I don't think it's the oriole, it might be something else. Just go, oh wait, I can see it from where I am. And where's that branch coming down? There, I think that's it. No, that was a bunch of leaves. A little bit higher, I think, maybe. I think I might, here we go. What is that? That is not, it's a white helmet shrike. We can hear the oriole, it's a bit further off. There's a white helmet shrike. So, James Richard was saying that honey guides, are they also brood parasites like cuckoos? They definitely are. Well done, James. And James is wondering what is their favorite bird to parasitize, and I'm not sure. They do quite a lot. So similar sized birds like starlings, they're not as specific as cuckoos. So cuckoos are very specific, that they target sort of very specific species or families of species, whereas the honey guide is more of a general brood parasite. He'll take on anyone's nest of a similar sized bird. Now, where is that oriole? It sounds like it's here. Let's just listen again. It seems like they're just a little bit far. No. Oh, there's another one calling ahead. And while we search for our birds, and let's go across to something that's definitely not a cuckoo.
Definitely not a cuckoo is a relatively good description of the buffalo I'm trying to show you. I'm being very, very careful. I was on my way towards the Philemon's Dip hyena den, and just as I arrived, I started hearing the buffalo braying, and I had to double check with a message that I heard on the radio, and Andrew says she's charged him already. There's a very upset buffalo. I'm going to keep my distance. I just want to see if we can get a view of her. I can hear her calling. I don't quite know what's happening here. I don't know if perhaps she's lost a little one. Perhaps to the lions. Maybe she's calling for them. Where's she gone? There she is. There's something really not right with this buffalo. You can see she's not stopping to feed. And she is calling constantly. Obviously, I don't want to distress her any further, so we'll keep our distance. It's just an interesting sighting. She's been wandering aimlessly, backwards and forwards. And the rest of the herd is behind us, but they're actually almost keeping a distance from her. And I don't know what that means. I don't know if there's what exactly is going on. To be charged by a female buffalo when you're in a vehicle is... I've never had it happen, and I don't know anybody who has had it happen, which makes me very, it's one thing if it's a big Duggar boy that perhaps is in a terrible mood. Even that is unusual in a vehicle. So a female is next to unheard of, and I didn't want to go in and check that hyena den until we've established exactly where she's gone. And then it's an important update for lots of people, particularly those on foot. I'm not sure if Gendre and Wiem are still out on foot with Herbert. I know they were doing some filming, but it would be perhaps best if they avoided the Philemon's Dip area. Okay, they're back. That's good to know. Is that her there in front? I don't know. I think she might have aimlessly wandered back into the road. That's definitely something to keep an eye on. I'm not going forward to terrorize her or anything like that, but I do want to try and puzzle out this mystery, just in case it is something that we might need to notify somebody about. Very peculiar. Very, very odd behavior. So I'm going to go forward a little bit. I just want to investigate. I don't want to startle or scare her. I just want to make sure that we keep an eye on this behavior so that we can report it if we need to, and also so that we can warn people if they are on foot, particularly for those who go out tracking, which we all do. Obviously the message will be passed on to us, but if it needs to be passed on to other reserves as well. Just make sure that that was her and that she's not lurking somewhere here. She seems to be ignoring the giraffe. But it's the fact that the rest of the herd is keeping such a distance from her that also worries me a little bit. But then on the other hand, it could really just be that she's lost a little one. They could have been chased by lions last night. She could have been stressed and concerned. I don't know where she's gone. excuse me. You've seen a buffalo go by. Giraffe are very good at keeping secrets. The silent starers of the bush. Okay, we can't push this any further. I'm not going to go any further after her. She's gone into the block here. There's nothing more I can do. We'll just keep an eye out for her. I think probably it's just disturbance by lions at some point last night. Cold, windy night, cloudy, dark. That's probably what caused it. I wonder if this is Brent's journey of giraffe that he had earlier. It seems like we go through phases of either seeing no giraffe, or now all of a sudden we've got lots and lots of them wandering about. It's such a nice change. A big old female, munching away at her breakfast, giving us a beautiful view. No, you see, she is there. Okay, I just want to turn around, just so that I've got a better view. That wasn't her. This is a different buffalo. She's in here. Well, Right, I'm going to try and figure out what's going on with this female buffalo. While we do that, let's head across to Brent for an update on his side.
I was really expecting more cuckoos on the sunrise safari, but literally they're not calling. And we actually were expecting more birds, but for a morning the birds should be out in force. They seem to be a bit scarce. But I'm quite enjoying driving around the eastern sections of Djuma, which I haven't seen in well over a week and a half. I haven't even been to the Buffalo's waterhole, so we're going to meander down towards there, see what's cracking. Now, not so long ago, we saw the first pied kingfisher I've seen in many a moon at the Buffalo's Hook waterhole. And, of course, the question is still hanging in the air. When will we hear the trill of the first woodlands? Brian has said the 3rd of November. I have said the 31st of October. And Jamie and Dave have gone for the 1st and 2nd of November between Brian and myself. Now, Michael is being mean to me. Brian is cackling. Michael is asking if we have seen the white-throated robin yet. We have, Michael. We have heard it. We have seen it. We have just only managed to put it on camera once. I've managed to put it on camera once with Dave. The second time where we had the most exquisite view was with Brian on Cheetah Plains in the only drainage line in the whole of Cheetah Plains that does not have signal. So we don't like talking about that bird. Now, interestingly enough, I mentioned yesterday that the white-throated robin is the preferred host species of the red-chested cuckoo. And speaking of robins, it's not a white-throated, but a white-browed scrub robin. Oh, eating caterpillars. Oh, he's got... Come on, pop up again. So definitely one of the most distinctive and most beautiful calls in the bush is that of the white-browed scrub robin. It's James Hendry's favourite bird. It's small, nondescript, just like James, with a good singing voice. Wouldn't it be lovely if it gives us a song? I think it's too concerned in eating all the butterfly and moth larvae that are around at the moment. Oh, off he goes. Beautiful. Now, I'm trying to think, where could we find a cuckoo? Maybe on Inyala Road North. So after we check the Buffalo's Hook waterhole, that is where we shall head. It is just nice sort of taking a morning to really enjoy the bush and the small things. Now, J2P, a big Safari Live welcome to you, would like to know more about the sunbirds and why are they called that? Now, that is actually something I probably never pondered too deeply. It's probably because their lovely iridescence shimmers in the sun, and they're often seen sitting in the sun and calling. Now, it's quite interesting. They should probably, if you think about what they eat and what they do, they should be called nectar birds or flower birds, because that's what they feed off. But I'm not sure why they're called sunbirds. I'm going to have to go look in the wonderful book that Jamie Patterson gave me for my birthday about the scientific names of birds, and you probably find the answer lies somewhere within there. So I'm going to have to do some research for you there. But of course, I love the sunbirds, and we get quite a few different species here, and they're all generally very nicely colored, or the males at least, and they are nectar feeders, so they actually feed off flowers. They do also feed off spiders and insects, but the majority of their sustenance comes from flowers. And of course, they're not flowers all year, so that's why they do need to supplement their diet with insects and arachnids from time to time. Now, the white-bellied sunbird, which we've already seen on the sunrise safari, has a very specific relationship with community spiders. And I remember a nest close by, so we're going to go see if we can find it. And they often use abandoned community spider nests as their nests. Also, what they do is, if they don't use it, they will actually collect the spider webs to build their nest, is to use the glue. So we're approaching the Buffalo's Hook waterhole, and Deborah was wondering, do all sunbirds have the same bills? Yes, to a degree. Now, they are slightly differently shaped, but generally they are curved and scimitar shaped, and but there's different thicknesses depending on what they feed on. So your smaller sunbirds obviously got a much finer bill than the bigger sunbirds. Now, I can hear birds making a noise as we approach. Wow! That's how long how long ago I've been here. The last time I was here, there was water. It's gone. There's a little pool off at the back, but the majority of the water at the Buffalo's Hook waterhole has vanished. And there is a bird in the tree. There we go. Another one for our morning list is the red-billed buffalo weaver. And the wind's picking up now. You can see, it almost looks like he's hanging on for dear life. Now, of course, they have multiple nests in this tree, and that's what they've been building. You can see just above him, there's the start of one. The more developed ones are off to the right. Okay. Let's move on. Oh, look, there's one coming in with building material. Oh, into it went. So the most prized real estate for the red-billed. There's another one with grass. So that's nice and soft. That's for lining the inside of the nest. They've built the thorny outside. Now, the prized real estate is in the middle, the furthest from the edges, and they will fight for that prized real estate. So the cheaper real estate is on the edges that the snakes might be able to get to. So the reason they use thorny and spiky branches is to try and keep predators, specifically snakes like the boomslang, away. Now, we're nearly at that white-bellied sunbird nest. So let's go have a quick look there. Now, I don't know if it's in use at the moment, but it could very well be. No, that was something interesting. That bird was something interesting. I know we can't see it now. It's disappeared into the bottom of the drainage line, unfortunately. Okay, let's go to the nest. It's a good thing I've got good memory. Remembering where all these things are. Now, let's see. We should be able to get it on camera. Unless an elephant is removed the tree it was once upon a time on. Now, let's just look here. It was right here somewhere. Now I'm just trying to remember. So what I'm looking for is a community spider nest that has been taken over by white-bellied sunbirds. Okay, it might take me a little bit of time to check the trees, and while we do that, let's go see what Jamie's up to.
While Brent makes his way to try and find the nest of the sunbird, we find our way towards the hyena den. Well, blocked by the rest of the herd of buffalo that are slowly making their way in our direction. One little one on the right, big one in the middle, and a couple of ones in between. With the female that we were talking about earlier, I've actually lost track of which one it is, but all of the buffalo that we're sitting with are feeding, their heads are down, none of them look distressed anymore. So I think it was just that she'd had a very stressful night. Could well be that she lost a calf to the lions, or even just that they were chased and she had to do some chasing back. As buffalo do, they often turn the table on lions. I think that's probably the reason behind her bad mood. Don't think there's anything else wrong with her. They're all feeding. The females that moved off in that direction are all feeding. The whole herd is moving around now, so I don't think it's anything to be too concerned about. Just a bad day. Woken up on the wrong side of the bed, and who could blame her if the conjecture is right? I mean, from what I can hear, the lions were chasing buffalo. There's apparently tracks of buffalo sprinting around all over the place from last night. So it stands to reason that this could well be the herd that was the unlucky victims. I'm still trying to carry out my plan of going to check the hyena den, but for now we just have to sit tight and wait for them to move past us. Aqua, you wanted to know if it's possible that the female had rabies. The thought, I'm not going to lie, the thought did occur to me. I don't know anything about rabies in buffalo. Hello? Bizarre. Never been worried about being charged by a female buffalo before. The thought did occur to me, just in, that sort of heightened state of confusion. I have to confess, I know nothing about rabies in buffalo. I know that all animals can get it, but some animals are just carriers, so they don't actually become infected by the symptom, or at least they don't get the symptoms. They don't manifest the symptoms of the virus itself. But if she's feeding, and if the rest of the group has happily joined her, which they have, then no, she doesn't. Animals tend to know when another animal has rabies, and they run away from it. The fact that the buffalo have contentedly moved in around that female to the point that I've actually lost track of her, I think would immediately suggest that no, she doesn't have rabies. But the thought did occur to me, which is why I was trying to just investigate a little bit. But I don't know. I've never heard of a buffalo getting rabies. I don't know anything more about it. And of course, we have been on a high level of paranoia recently in terms of rabies, just because there was a terrible outbreak in Hoedspruit. Sorry, Brent wants to talk to me. Standing by.
Jamie, what's your position?
Weaver's Nest, Philemon's Dip.
Copy. What was the position of that buffalo head?
I'm with them now. They're moving south along Weaver's Nest.
Okay, copy. It was quite far, but it sounded like buffalo in distress somewhere on the cutline, Gari cutline area. I'm going to follow up. I'm just wondering if you were a bit closer, I might have heard something.
Copy. It's odd, because I can no longer keep track of her. I mean, this buffalo's behaving in a completely innocuous manner. I'm just giving her a little bit more space. I don't think she was going to do anything, but it's just better safe than sorry, and I'd rather have a bit more wriggle room if we need to use it. Sorry, but Brent's just called in that he's heard buffalo distress calls around Buffelshoek Cutline and was just wanting to know whether or not I thought it was from this lot, which obviously it's not. He was wondering if perhaps I was a bit closer. So that's what that conversation was about. So the thought, obviously, to go back to the rabies conversation, the thought did occur to me, but I don't think that it is the case. I think they've just been terrorized by lions. I'm going to go and do some more research, though, into buffalo and rabies, because I realize I don't know anything about it in that context. I was talking about the outbreak that we had in... Sorry, Dave, just have a look there. Up in the sky. It looks like lots and lots of vultures taking off. I wonder if they were they could have been roosting there. It's just getting warm enough for them to start thermaling. But there's probably, I know you can't see it, obviously, with especially the distance that they're at. There's probably about 40 vultures that have just come around the corner. Using the hot air currents. Might also just have been chased by the elephants that I've just realized are feeding not too far away from us. Oh, sorry, just to go back to the vultures, I'm a bit disconnected at the moment because there's so much happening around us. Shamsan, you wanted to see a vulture feeding on a carcass, or vultures feeding on a carcass. You wanted to know if there's a good time of day for that. Usually, it depends on how long the carcass has been there. Usually a good time of day would be sort of round about this time in the morning and onwards. The reason I say that is because in order for the vultures to find a carcass, they actually have to take to the skies and they have to start thermaling. So it has to be warm enough for them to actually have those air currents. Otherwise, they can't really sustain their flight, being big, heavy birds. And then after that, once they do spot something, then they'll start to descend. During the hottest time of the day in midsummer, they'll probably not be feeding. They'll be panting and resting. But there's no real best time of the day. For any time from the morning onwards, if they've found the carcass, then they will be feeding off it. And we've had a few sightings of vultures gathering together, and it can be the most extraordinary sighting to experience. Vultures fighting, the sounds are positively prehistoric as they battle each other over access to the food. It is incredible. Different group of animals has gathered here, as you can see. They're slowly but surely being surrounded by the buffalo. I'm feeling absolutely fine now that the females are not showing any signs of any aggression towards us. I'm not too concerned. It was just very important to approach the whole situation carefully, but now they're steadily moving through past us, all of them heads down feeding, none of them looking at us as if we're a threat in any way. Those sorts of scuffles that we just saw there are relatively common. The females often get into each other's space, or buffalo get into each other's space, and they just niggle at each other for a little bit. While I wait patiently for our buffalo to move around us so that I can go to the hyena den, let's hear from Brent what's happening with that buffalo distress call.
We can't go there. But I can hear lions chasing buffalo directly north of us. I mean, I even found the sunbird nest, and I left the sunbird nest because I heard brrrr. We'll just keep looking for cuckoos. Okay, so Andrew's heading into that area to follow up. So if they do come down towards here, we will speed like Lewis Hamilton to get here. But I'm now going back to the sunbird nest. And still, not one cuckoo call this morning. We haven't even heard one. Oh, hello. Why is everything in the Buffelshoek today? You can see a bottom in Buffelshoek. Sorry, Brian, I know I'm going to cause havoc for you, but those Franklin took off very quickly and very upset. Probably panic, because Franklins are prone to panic over nothing, but it could also be panic over a spotted kitty cat. And they just took off out of this thicket here. I just want to have a quick look. No, I think it was complete and utter panic over nothing. Okay, so all the bottoms have disappeared. Oh, that's not so much of a bottom as a side-on view now of an Ellie. Hi, Ellie. Bye, Ellie. Oh dear. Off goes the elefante. Where is that bird making the noise with the oh my goodness. Flying away. At least if you're going to fly, give us a roll. Or don't. It was that lilac-breasted roller. Seems like everything is escaping from us today. Yeah, there's lion tracks here. And I'm sure that is exactly what we heard with those lions hunting buffalo to the north of us. I know I don't often say this about the incredible Nkuhumas, but I hope they miss and come back to Djuma to kill buffalo. They mustn't kill buffalo in Buffalo's Hook. But of course, if the lions aren't there, there are birds. Even the birds are giving us the runaround today. But I did find that wonderful white-bellied sunbird nest that's in an old community spider nest. So we're going to go look at that. It's not too far down the road. But it is an absolutely splendid morning. I'm so happy to have sunshine and no howling gale or cloud or drizzle. Of course, I know the bush needs the rain, but it can be kind enough to rain in between safari times in future, please. A wet bottom is not fun. I think today is going to get quite hot. There's still a nip in the air. Brian is still in all his jackets. I've let go of one of my layers. And I'm just basking in the wonderful sun. Now, of course, this is a great time of the year to look for nests. Remember, we are live, #Safari Live, or questions at WildEarth.tv if you've got any questions. Now, of course, we've just had an experience where we've heard lions hunting buffalo in an area we can't go. And Michael's wondering, how do you know when a new coalition of male lions is coming? Do the other reserves surrounding you let you know? How did we know the Birmingham boys were on their way? Well, fortunately for us, we've got some friends to the north of us in the Manyaleti, and they let us know that the Birmingham boys were on the way, and they kept us updated on their progress as they came south. So most of the time, if they're coming from the south, the north, or the west, we'll know. The only time we don't know is when they come from the Kruger, and they can literally just appear like, what was the word I'm looking for? Like ghosts? No, ghosts is the wrong one. Like marauders, a marauding invasion, and they can come in from Kruger. Now, according to the guys in Coral, they've been seeing and hearing some young males, so there might be a new coalition coming in, but there's only 2 of them, so probably not a threat to the Birmingham boys. I'm probably sure they've heard of the Birmingham boys, and the Birmingham boys rushing off, and I'm only saying they rushed off from what I could hear last night. It could even be those young males calling in the Kruger, and the Birmingham boys decided they need to make their way there and give them, I'm going to use a very South African term, a snort glap. And basically it means a smack that hits the snot out of you. And lions are quite good at snort claps. Oh dear! That has changed since I was out of the vehicle. There are now elephants around where the sunbird nest is, but we'll come back to the Ellies shortly. Oh, it's got a floppy ear. Hello, Floppy. Floppy, we'll be with you shortly. I just want to look at a bird nest, and then we'll come spend some time with you. It's nothing to do with the fact that you have a floppy ear. Okay, I just want to show you this nest quickly. It is quite fascinating. There it is. Now, okay, well, the elephant can't see me from here. That's good news. So there it is. Now, at first glance, it looks like your average community spider nest. But if we look a little bit carefully, it's been changed by the sunbirds. Oh, okay, there's lots of thorns on here. It's on a green thorn or a torchwood. So here it looks like your average community spider nest. And is this an active community spider nest? Wait, let me just sneak between the thorns and have a look. It's not. But you stay over there, elephant. Now, what's happened is this top layer here has been added. If you look carefully, it's a little bit different. There's a lot more leaves that have been added in, and the entrance hole is where my finger is. So it's actually hidden. They've built a shade over the entrance hole. So you can't actually see them. So how we found this nest was actually on bushwalk. I was on bushwalk here, and we saw the community spider nest. I was like, oh, nice community spiders. Let's do a thing on a community spider nest. And then all of a sudden, because there was movement outside, the baby sunbird thought it was being fed. And this little bill popped out. Oh, okay. Elephant's coming. She didn't see me. It's okay. And the elephant started walking straight towards me. Well, let's go spend some time with the elephants. But I'm happy I managed to show you this wonderful nest. Now, with those big strides an elephant can make, that elephant covered some ground quite quickly. And all of a sudden, she was about 15 meters away from me. There she is. Yes, walking through the bush with her floppy ear. Hi, Ellie. Okay, now, I didn't see the herd that had the tiny, tiny baby, but Jamie did mention that one of the elephants had a floppy ear. The rest of the herd are not far away, and I'm really hoping that it's the same herd that has that newborn calf. And now we'll be able to tell if we see old Fang. Now, Fang is a female elephant. It's got a very long downward backward facing tusk. Okay, there we go, we're out. And the rest of the herd were just over there, so fingers crossed, it's the herd that's got the newborn baby. Oh, door. Okay, let's go. Hello, Ellies. Maybe I'll be lucky enough. I've been wanting to see Ellie's mud bath. Maybe this is the chance. I'm not seeing old Fang just yet. I'm seeing a young elephant, but not as young as the newborn. Everything's disappearing from us today, Brian. And the Ellies are going into impenetrable thickets. Well, there's still a few out, but as that elephant disappears, there's one young bull left. And we can hear a noisy bird. Beep, 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 beep. And I'm hoping as that elephant disappears, the bird won't do the same. Oh, sidetracked. Now that is a green thorn. No, it's decided the green thorn isn't good eating. I apologize, I called you a little boy. I think you're actually a little girl. Yum, yum, yum. Acacia for breakfast. Now, of course, the Australians have stolen the name acacia, which is ridiculous. I refuse to call it by its new name. I can't even remember what its new name is. Of course, the bird has flown away. You can hear an orange-breasted bushrat calling. And now, Brian, are you up for a challenge? Now, there's some birds flying around quite quickly. Over there, you see them. Oh, there we go. Oh, they're so fast. It is a red-breasted swallows by the looks of things. No, they are moving very quickly. There we go, Brian. Well done. So there's one swallow you can get the red-breasted swallow confused with, and that's the swallow. But they can look a bit similar. We haven't got any of the European swallows now. As I said, they look like red-breasted swallows. I'm going to have a closer look now to see whether they are red-breasted or mossed. I just need to find my binoculars. Brian is doing a sterling job trying to follow them as they flutter at height. Well, I suppose they're not fluttering, they are flying. Okay, binoculars, check. Swallow, gone. Okay, they should come back around. No, they're not. Well, now we can't even count them, Brian. We don't know if it's a moss swallow or a red-breasted swallow. We need to be better. To quote Kirsten, just be better. Okay, well, the elephants are gone, the swallows are gone, and we're gone. As our frustrating birding morning continues, let's go see if Jamie's having a bit more success than we are.
I'm also having an interesting birding morning. It was a bird that I really, really wanted to get on camera, but it actually took me too long to figure out what I was hearing. So it was a sound that goes something like this. Whee! It came out of nowhere. I immediately slammed on the brakes, and my mind's going through, was that a distress call from maybe something like a duiker or a steenbok? And it took me far too long, just because we haven't seen them in such a long time, to realize that I was listening to trumpet or hornbills. And by the time I picked up on it, they flew off towards Sandy Patch Road. I'm hoping we're going to get to catch up with them at some point this week, because I'm sure that's a new one for many of you to add to your bird list. A trumpeter hornbill cries like a human baby, and when a flock of them flies over, you get a sort of combination of sounds, and wah, 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 sound like a crying baby. Sorry, elephant. Peculiar sound that this human being is making. I've made it all the way to the entrance to the Galago shortcut hyena den, and I've found myself distracted by one very large pachyderm, two very large pachyderms, probably more, as this elephant herd moves slowly towards the Galago pan. Now, I'm going to come back to this elephant, if you don't mind. We've seen him feeding, since you have spent some time with Ellies and with Brent earlier. And let's just go and check this hyena den. I just want to know if there's anything around here. I haven't seen any tracks, which isn't a positive sign. But you never know. It might be a female on her own. Perhaps that's moved through to a den in the same way that Gwen did when she first had her cubs. So let's give it a go. I'll come back to the elephant. I'm not seeing any tracks except for lots and lots and lots and lots of impala tracks. Come on. I get my hopes up every time, only to have them dashed. I'm hoping that today is not going to be the same. This is where Mike saw her emerging from last night, that he suggested that she looked as though she'd been digging. It could be one of the... generally, the hyena cubs are the ones responsible for excavating most of the den site. They have that natural instinct from the minute they are born, and they continue to make the tunnels. But if perhaps the tunnel had collapsed, maybe a female might be involved with excavation. Oh, goodness. Things have got a bit overgrown here. And the Galago shortcut den not looking like it used to. Our one road is blocked completely by a fallen tree. Come on, hyenas. Come on, hyenas. Aww. You okay there, Dave? Whoop, there we go. I forgot about the GoPro sitting at the top there. Okay. Well, I mean, it's not completely bleak, but I don't know it is. I don't see any fresh tracks, scrapings, diggings, or anything of the sort. I might go for...
leaving Karula open lock.
I was going to say I might go for a little bit of a walk, but I can hear an elephant moving about behind there. And they've been in a particularly bad mood over the last few days, so I'm not going to go walking now. I think the lack of tracks is relatively... I mean, that pretty much tells us everything we need to know. Our hyenas are not, at least not back at the Galago shortcut den, nor are they at the Philemon's cutline den. Doesn't mean they're not... I checked the Mvubu Road den recently. I checked the Mvubu Road den recently, and it was abandoned, so we'll have to check the Aubrey's Road den sites next and see whether anything's happening there. But for now, let's go back to that elephant. Might just take a little bit of reverse navigating. You think we can get back here, Dave? Perfect. Thank you. Watch heads, everybody. You okay there, Dave? That's about to smack you. Okay, well done. Whoopsie, whoopsie daisy. Just try not to take Dave out. That would be most tragic. Oh. Okay. Whoopsie. Well, we're going to have to sit tight. The elephants have come to us. I see. Hello, big girls. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to come and block you. I was on my way out. Oh, well. This is now a massive herd that's coming out of the woodwork. They all popped out of the block while we were looking at the hyena den. Hi, girls. Hello. One of the females has gone very still. Hello, my girls. Yeah, she's just looking at us. She's just checking to see that we don't mean any ill intentions. But we've just got to sit nice and tight and wait for them to come past us. There's not much else we can do in the position that we're in. There's nowhere really to go. Now, the reason that I'm talking to them is so that obviously they know that we're here. They've heard the vehicle moving about and crashing about. And the one female was a little bit upset by it. I'm just talking to her to remind her that obviously she can't understand a word I'm saying, but by constantly talking in a nice low tone, letting her know that we're here, and that we are humans in a vehicle, which is something that she will recognize, the sound of voices, and also just by communicating in a relatively low and even tone, and she knows that we don't mean any harm. The little ones are not bothered at all. Okay, everybody's relaxed again. Perfect. I don't want to reposition at the moment, just because we're going to make a lot of noise as we do, so we'll settle for the spot and wait for them to slowly come to us. It's not the best view in the world, but it will improve. Crunch. And these, of course, are the animals responsible for our now lack of road into the hyena den. The elephants have been doing some serious landscaping over the last few weeks and months. They've certainly changed the face of Inge's garden and the DRC. There were 2 of them yesterday, weren't there? Yes, it was last night that they were inside the DRC. So we had a lot of interactions with elephants in the camps recently. I think they've all come through here. I think they're going to decide to have a snooze. Dave, we might be late for breakfast. Oh well, indeed. There are worse roadblocks to be stuck in. First buffalo, now elephant. Hello, little one. Being chased around by an older calf. Munching away. A relatively young elephant, probably judging by the thickness of the tusks, most likely a male. It's difficult to tell with young elephants. We've got to be careful of making assumptions, but usually the tusks of the males are slightly thicker and more sturdy than the females. What a lovely view into this young male's mouth. Oh, it seems as though the end of the sunset safari is filled with elephants. Brent has found some more for you.
I think this could be the latest little addition to the Juma elephant family. It's a big herd. I haven't seen Fang yet, but that elephant's about the right age to be the little newborn. Still very wobbly on his feet. Now, could this be the one whose placenta we found? Oh, look at that. He's so small, so cute. Now, I'm just trying to see if the other females, there's lots of elephants. There's elephants all around us at the moment. I'm just trying to see if the other female, if Fang is in this herd, because if Fang is, it's almost certainly the new one. Oh, Brian, look at this. On his knees. Off his knees. He's digging out roots, but climbing right down to his knees. I'm just going to try and move forward a skosh. I'm really hoping that this is the one that Jamie saw. I don't see the fanged female yet. If not, this is very close to the same age as that little one. See how Mom is standing between us. She's completely fine. She's not upset with us. She's just... There we go. Look, 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 look. So small. It has to reach up to suckle. Oh, look at that. Hello, little creature. Now, look at that. You can see there's some green stuff on the sort of high on the back of that baby Ellie. What's happened is, unfortunately, that baby Ellie has been obviously behind Mom or another elephant and has been defecated on. Poor little guy. Now, Lauren is wondering, how long do baby elephants nurse for? Well, it's quite dependent, but they will normally nurse for up to about 5 years, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little longer. I think the longest I've heard of an elephant nursing for is up till about 9, but that is in captivity, so very, very different. This is the best type of roadblock. Now, of course, we've been seeing an incredible amount of breeding herds recently. Faith is wondering, she says, well, we always see more females than males. Is that normal? It is, Faith. The males tend to spend more time on their own or in little bachelor groups. The breeding herds tend to be a bit busy, a bit noisy. So the big males generally don't spend that much time with the breeding herds. Oh, look at that. It's still so wobbly. Just amazing. You can see he's still quite fluffy, the little one. Those hairs are still fine, they haven't become coarse yet. Scratching himself against Mom's leg. Who needs a tree when you got Mom's legs? And you can just see by his behavior how young he is. Doesn't move from Mom at all, stays really close. The safest place to be for that little Ellie is between Mom's legs. Oh, he's just so cute. Now, a female elephant gives birth to a baby that weighs more than I do. That little thing weighs over 100 kilograms. And David's wondering how strong they are. They'll knock you over, or me over. I've had to deal with some orphaned Ellies before. A little bit older than this one, but they are incredibly strong, even at a very young age. Now, the whole herd is quite spread out. I mean, there's a little cluster of them around here, but the rest of the herd is spread out through the bush all around us. Looking they're very, very relaxed in our presence, and no aggression signs showed. So you can see they're all, absolutely all around us. And I'm definitely not going anywhere. This is exactly where I want to be right now, surrounded by elephants. Now, of course, we're looking at a little tiny baby that is still suckling. Chitra, who's in India, is wondering, do we come across allo suckling in elephants? Now, if you're wondering what allo suckling is, it is when unrelated females, or not unrelated, but not the mother of the baby will allow the baby to suckle. There have been some recorded cases of allo suckling in elephants, but it is quite unusual. Normally not. Adoption and it only happens when the mother has died normally, and sometimes, but it's very rare, another female will adopt a calf. Normally that calf is left to die and normally stays around its mother after it's died. So it is possible, but it is very unusual. Little wobbly legs. And see, at this age they stay incredibly close to their mothers. You can see literally making sure it can almost touch mom at any time. And you can hear the mournful call of the spookful in the background, which is the grey-headed bushshrike. Oh, there we go. Watch how he tries to keep up with mom. Oh, I apologize. It's a her, not a he, the little one. Wherever mom's goes, so shall she. Oh, so wobbly. Oh, you see how pink it is behind the ears when it flaps its little ears? So a couple of days old, this little one. Oh, look, it's so pink behind the ears. Oh, round the corner. Let's follow them. So this isn't the same one that you saw with Jamie, but probably around a similar age. Elephants everywhere, isn't it wonderful? Cuckoo's calling. The first cuckoo calling. Cuckoo. Oh, I'm torn. Elephants or cuckoos? Elephants or cuckoos? Let's go for the cuckoo. Let's sneak past the elephants. Oh no, we're going to have to wait. The elephants are going to cross. And of course, elephants have the right of way here in the bush. Can we see the cuckoo from here, maybe? Oh, it's so tantalizingly close. The first cuckoo call. Cuckoo. Cuckoo. That is an African cuckoo calling. It sounds like it's there somewhere. There we go. Looks like the little Ellie's on the move. Are we going to break the cuckoo duck so we can stop doing the ridiculous cuckoo? Don't fly away before we can get you on camera. Well, that's what the little elephant thinks about cuckoo. Oh, there it flew. Damn it. There. Got him. There we go. It's over. It's over. It's over. You can see him calling the African cuckoo. He's puffing out his neck. Thank goodness, Brian. I don't know how many more times I could say cuckoo in that ridiculous voice. I'm sure you guys are probably rejoicing more about us not saying cuckoo than seeing the actual cuckoo. Oh, caterpillars beware. The African cuckoos are here. But fortunately for us, so are the elephants. And there's the tiny little one still here next to us, following Mom through the bush. Look how pink it is. Sorry, I know I've said that probably about 10 times now. But every time I see behind that little one's ears, it's just so wonderful. All right, we're going to leave Mom to move off. Now, since the cuckoo duck has been broken, I've got a feeling we're just going to see all the cuckoos in the next few minutes. So we're going to keep looking for the cuckoos, but let's jump on board with Jamie and see what she's up to. Oh, bless you.
Well, what a lovely morning it has been. And Dave, is that your first time seeing Karula and her cubs since you got back from leave? Well, they truly gave you a royal welcome. It was so much fun watching them clamber over each other, jump and play. Hopefully they'll be around for the sunset safari, and of course the cuckoo mania I imagine will be continuing, because I now have to get a cuckoo on camera. I feel as though that should have to be my mission for the morning. However, we have reached the end of the sunrise safari. My goodness, I can't talk today. And so it is time for me to say farewell to you all and head off for some of Happiness and Tundi's amazing breakfast. So thank you to Dave for his wonderful camera work, and thank you to all of you for joining us wherever you happen to be. I hope you had fun, and we'll see you again in a few short hours for the sunset safari. Bye-bye, everybody.
Now, literally, we drove 10 meters and the next cuckoo appeared in front of us. Now, this one's not calling, so I just want to double check on it, because of course the African and the European or common cuckoo are very, very similar. Are we on full zoom, Brian? It is an African cuckoo, and the reason I can tell that is because of the beak. Oh, the cuckoo cleaning his beak. So on the African cuckoo, the base of the beak is yellow. Turn to the side, please, cuckoo. There we go. You can see very dark in the front, and then the base is yellow. And that is pretty much the only way to tell them apart. And definitely an African cuckoo. Now we just need to find the great spotted cuckoo. So I'll show you quickly. Shall I go into the shade, Brian? To show you the screen. I think a little bit of shade might make it a bit easier for Brian. Oh, that didn't work, did it? I drove through the shade. There we go. Okay, so that is the common cuckoo, or the European cuckoo. Oh, now, we can't. Let's go back to that picture. I think that's the best. So, as I said, you can see the blackish bill extends almost all the way down to the base, and you can't see as much yellow, although it's sort of greenish yellow at the end. And if we go to the African cuckoo, you can see how there's a lot more yellow on the bill. So a black tip, and then the far more yellow base. And of course, if it's calling, it's definitely an African, because the Europeans don't call here. But where the cuckoos actually get their name from, actually while we've got it here, it's just too much. You can sort of hear the African cuckoo say cuckoo, cuckoo, but if you really want to hear a cuckoo say cuckoo, you have to listen to the call of the European. Cuckoo, cuckoo. And of course that's where the Swiss got the sound for their cuckoo clocks, from the European or common cuckoo. Stop. There we go. So there we go. So they don't make those calls here, but if any of our viewers are at home in Europe, don't listen for them now, because they're visiting us. So wait till summer comes around, and I'm sure those living in France and Switzerland, Germany, will be able to hear the common cuckoo's cuckoo. Now, from the killer bees, it's been splendid. And of course, just a happy day for the thumb. And just remember, how exciting is this, that we'll be doing this again in a few short hours. So from the killer bees, salut!